All right, I think we're all loaded up. All right. Actually, yeah, let's do this. Let's do our good old BGM too. What should we do today? Didn't have anything on here. Also, I was right. I was totally right. I absolutely knew that the OST was changed. I was like, there's no way this was the same song. But yeah, okay. Apparently after 3 archdemons get killed, you get this. All right. Good to see you in the chat, Macaroni. Oh, what's this? Let's do this. Let's see how this goes. Okay, cool. All right, perfect. All right. So apparently, killing Duran left my tendency pretty low, so. But I killed Phalanx, so. Is it still open? Yeah, gate's still open. Okay. Oh. There we go. There we go. Does this sound good? Trying to make sure. Oh, game doesn't sound too loud over the BGM. There we go. Let's go over here. All right, let's see. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna. I already have shots that someone else grabbed for me on this, so I think. Ooh. There we are. There we go. Why? What? Macaroni. Why is the game so ugly? What do you mean? It's beautiful. I love it. There we go. All right. Oh, I don't need to do that. Something like this. There we go. All right. Now, I think we can get away with bumping this up a little louder. There we are. Yep, this is the OG Demon Souls. All right. Ooh, that was close. That was super close. This is the problem with Black Tendency. The damage. Still giving me Crescent Moongrass from these guys feels like an insult, you know? There we go. All right, so this is Black Tendency. Maralda should show up? Question mark? I'm not sure how good Regenerator's Ring is at my HP, so we're gonna go with Thief's Ring just in case. Still nothing. Girl is still not showing up. Am I crazy? I feel like she should be here already. Like, I'm waiting for her to, like, ambush me from behind or some shit. Bring a poison resistance. Oh, this I have to be extra. This I have to be extra careful of. Woo! Oh, a colorless demon soul. Woo! Oh, that worked out perfect. Woo! And now for the incredibly slow climb up the ladder. There we go. I could have swore Maralda's Black Phantom appears at Black Tendency. Maybe I'm misremembering and it's actually at White? But no, doesn't she appear normally at White Tendency? Or is she gonna come back up now that I've come all the way down? Like, is that how this is gonna work? I'm gonna be incredibly disappointed. We can do that when we get out. The problem is I hear myself clanking and I wonder if that's me. Let's do this. What's the lore of this game? How do I put this? King of the local superpower awakens ancient demon, which consumes the world in a fog that will slowly devour all of existence unless stopped. You are one of many heroes who have entered the fog on the promise of slaying the demons and saving the world. Will you do so? There. That's I think a good summary of it. I'm not sure this is a really good one. All right. Oh, there's no shadow for the pillar here, but there is for the corpse. There we go. Well. Oh. I feel like I ran into something there. It can't be my ring. Right? Let's go with Eternal Warrior's Ring for the time being. More stamina is always a good option. Yeah, more stamina is always a good option. Let's see. Okay. All right. All right. So that covers this area. I guess now the goal would be just to get the tendency up, I suppose. Actually, let me look. What is the image exactly that I have? Where's the Meralda stuff? Yeah, you can't really see much of anything here. Yeah, we could definitely do better. Yeah, we could do better. Okay. I think the shots I got might have actually covered what I wanted, so I don't think there's any need to worry about coming back. Okay. Anything else from here specifically? I don't think so. So really the goal would be either rush to Tower Knight. Stone Fang wouldn't be a bad. Let's at least unlock Ed. All right, get back here, you asshole. There we go. Lots of Sharpstone. Ooh. Can't make the drop there. I could have swore there was a way to cheese your way down here. Doesn't look like there is, no. They set this up just perfectly, huh? All right. I see how it is. There we go. Ow. Uh-huh. If that's not gonna work, then let's do harder to detect. Hey, best guy. There we go. Hi, look, I was reading your thesis on Old One, and I think it's funny that while the West has to fear magic, the East still does it without worry about demons or the Old One. I mean, well, can you blame them? They don't have the Old One. Right? It's one of those funny little quirks of the setting, right? Where effectively the world they create is sort of designed in a way where it's like, you know, all the Western European inspired countries have to deal with all the consequences of their evil with souls and abuse of their mind and all that. While the Eastern countries, they're like, that's not gonna hit us for a while. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, they're also going to be affected, but they're not like the primary concern of causing the disasters or the calamities, right? So it's just one of those funny little things. There we are. I will also say I'm enjoying getting all these screenshots now. Now we can have our screen streams without restraint. I know at the end of the Let's Play, I kind of was like, no, let me get these shots, make it easier for me, right? But I do appreciate. There we go. Come on. I do appreciate that I got to kind of enjoy myself with like just playing the game and stuff like that. Do that. Alright, this I have to be careful for because on New Game Plus, God knows how much damage he's doing. Oh yeah. I can't shrug that one off. That's a lot of damage. God, the design is so much better than what the remake gave us. Oh, I'm so happy with this design. Pretty sure I already have shots of it's this stupid item in the background that's annoying me. Not my favorite shot. I also had a question about old King Duran. Is he an immortal or bound to his armor, or is he a demon brought to life by the fall? Because he seems relatively decent as a person. I covered in Boletaria, but the short summary is that effectively he is I don't know if you could really say it's necessarily Duran himself. I guess that sort of depends on the question of what happened and where his soul is. But assuming that his soul was buried with his body in the mausoleum, then it's effectively just his soul being reconstituted into into his old body as a living demigod, immortal demigod, by the influence of the fog. He's not really a demon, right? He's not some soul-sucking, servant of the old one or anything like that. But he's not quite a phantom either, right? Do the same animation. It actually kind of works. It's just a little awkward because this thing doesn't go to the ground or anything, so it's like there we go. Gotta show off his dapper moves. What can we say? He's a dapper guy. A milady. I think we got enough of that. Yeah, it's not really big M for the Flame Lurker's case, but yeah, same basic ideas. Like, the fog has these essentially energization of souls. And as a result of that, it lulls the power of the mind to end up manifesting in reality within the fog, so. Right? I'll be honest, this is doing more damage than I thought it would. Oh, really? Wait, is that the biggest deal? Oh, I brought the bulldozer ash. I forgot to put this stuff away. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I can't remember what item is up here. Oh, it's crushing battle. Yeah, we can drop you. Yeah, we already got Dozer X. All right, I can make my way back then. Look at all the water. This did not work as well as we would hope, so back to the Eternal Warrior's Ring. I've been waiting on this. The funny part is I kind of want a ×5 speed like I do with the Elden Ring camera mod, but then I'm scared with ×5 speed I'll ruin my tendency even more. Some sticky white stuff. Yeah, let's go back, drop off our stuff so I don't have all this crap on me. I'll take shots of this stuff for the website in the future with all the different armors and weapons and things. But I think today I want to just try to get environmental shots.
I can.
There we go. Yeah, it is a good point. It's like we don't know. There's nothing really to indicate an afterlife in this this setting, so it's really sort of vague on exactly what God intends for all those who live and then ultimately die. Are they expected just to kind of live on this earth and make this earth as good as possible in their short, brief lives? Is there some sort of reward that would be given to those who do live good lives? You know, resisting the soul arts and all that stuff. We just don't know. The game just does not do it. Again, I find Demon Souls' setting to be so quaint and kind of like inspired in many respects that you just don't see from a lot of fantasy settings now. It's why I would love to see a sequel to kind of really start building upon the world and the setting in more concrete ways like Dark Souls did. You know, not just be like north, east, south, and west, and actually give us some idea of like countries and geopolitics, you know, kind of somewhat to what we ended up getting with Elden Ring, right? With its more interconnected lands between setting with history. Is there anything I want to buy from you? Not really. Ed's Grindstone would be nice for me to get before I kill you in the future. That'd be good. All right. Yeah, I think bringing all these rings is still good. Did I ever pick up the Brushwood Shield? I did. Oh, sorry, Purple Flame Shield I meant. Yeah, I did. Okay, cool. Cool. So ever want to try to go full Brushwood armor with the Purple Flame Shield against our buddy? We can. There we go.
Thou seekest soul power, then
I like how her staff isn't always on, by the way. I think that's a cute, nice little detail. All right, so I got myself up to 30 with all the souls we collected during the up to killing Phalanx. So I guess we should just go into Vitality now, right?
So the world might I shall awake.
Oh, that actually also reminds me. I want to get one miracle. I think this guy sells it. Teach it.
You must be
blah, 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 we know. There it is. Evacuate. I can use this evacuate.
Miracle me.
Wait, I gotta equip it. 1 second.
Oh,
There we go.
now come back that.
There's no way to examine this in the menu, is there? No. Yeah, I gotta evacuate there.
Do you?
I'm pretty sure this sends you back to the Nexus, but it functions like in Shard of Archstone, so it's not like you have to die for it, so I think that works. That should work just fine.
Thou then, soul of the mind, key to life's.
Well, I just used my
am
20k
here.
for this spell, and I think it's totally worth it. So now whenever I need to... Oh, you know what I do need, though, to go with it?
Hello, I'm keeping.
Where is it?
You have a hat.
Oh, I gotta do this, too. Cool, okay. So I can do this on command now.
Hello again. I'm keeping.
There we go. We keep you. Rest, we're just gonna have to wait
You
and
have
see.
a heart.
All right, back to what we were doing. Let's get some shots of those dogs. There we go. No more spawning? Okay. All right, we're safe. All right. I think a sequel might be interesting to see very late stage demon invasion, right? At critical mass. Maybe some cultures don't want to stop because their deities and heroes have returned. Yeah, like there's plenty of ideas to explore with the idea that you have like, you know, essentially doomsday upon us, right? Like do some people actually maybe agree or whatever? Are there some people who could embrace their old pagan ways and reject modernity or whatever and think of it as great? Like there's so many different avenues to explore to create interesting countries and cultures and stuff who are trapped and captured in the fog and all that stuff. And yeah, I would just like to see that actually like play out. All right. So close. Oh man, hitbox was too good. There we go. Wow, they really did just keep you that close, huh? Wait. There has to be more than just these guys, right? Let's see. Yeah, that's a very good point. It's just the idea of having, like, say, people from the Shrine of Storms culture or some like neo-pagan revival. Like, just in general, like there's so many cool ideas you could explore in the setting of Demon Souls, right? Because it really is just the idea of what happens if the stuff of our imagination, real or fake, in fact would come to life effect, essentially, right? Like, how does that change? Well, everything. About how we react, how we do so, how we view this menace. Like, do we take the threat seriously? Do we consider it like some sort of like divine revelation? This is like Armageddon and this is all what is meant to be or something. Like, there's just so many good story ideas to explore with all of this. So I am most certainly hopeful. Whose bright idea was it to block all this area with chugs, by the way? There we go. I think the flame for this is actually supposed to be open, but we will take advantage of this opportunity. Never look a gift horse in the mouth, as the saying goes. Yeah, prequel could have potential too, to see the original. I just don't feel, I feel like that's something that Miyazaki and would never want to do. You know? I feel like Miyazaki is always going to be someone who always wants to look forward with his settings, never backward, unfortunately. Because I do think prequels would be really cool to see expanded upon. There are the other dogs. Man, I love cheating in order to get some really good shots, man. Cheating is the best. Just remember, chat, when in doubt, always cheat. Yeah, I think we already got the shot we wanted. There we go. All right. There we go. Damn. I'm not getting anything really good out of this. 'Cause you don't see enough of these guys with the clothes on and stuff like that, you know? There we go. There we go. Getting lighting on you is not easy. Scratch that. Getting good lighting on you is not easy. Yeah, that's definitely not gonna work. I love how they all have the same walkie animation pose, even though they don't all have pickaxes and hammers. Like, I don't remember how the remake handled that. If they gave them like new walkie animations or something. There we go. There we are. I think he saw me. But he saw me. Yeah, come on, keep coming. Get closer. There we go. Who is Big M? Big M is essentially one of the... So the best way to think of Demon Souls is you have to divide it into 3 eras. There's essentially your mythic era where you have like kind of your equivalent of your Hercules, your Jasons, your Achilles, your Odysseus's, right? These great, amazing figures from the before times where everyone was kind of just super great and super talented and super powerful and super blessed with, you know, magic and all that crap, right? And that was like, you know, the golden times, right? At the beginning of the world. Then that period passes and you have all the people left over and their descendants who aren't as so great or whatever, but they're still very much interested in the magics and stuff like that. And they build their cultures and societies built around this sort of pagan influence. And you can consider that basically the equivalent of the classical era. I think your Greeces and your Romes, right? During post Dark Ages and stuff. And then after that, when everything collapses because of the old one and society now reconstitutes around the banning of the soul arts, then we enter what is essentially the equivalent of our medieval era, where it's very much like your classic, you know, European fantasy, very much typical in that regard. You can almost think of Boletaria as almost like the Holy Roman Empire of its time, except actually like a militaristic, united superpower, right? So all that happens. So Big M, in the larger context of things, is one of these mythic heroes who effectively, at the beginning, got apparently so good at punching and shit that he was able to punch out dragons to the point that he turned them into his servants or slaves. And then he ended up just spending the rest of his time just basically punching those servants, that dragons he beat into submission to death. And that was kind of his mark. then he sort of left legend for later generations in the Stonefang area to remember him by and pervert his mission and stuff. And eventually that became part of the inspiration for the Flame Lurker, which is why you will notice some very evident Big M influences in the way of his character. And obviously, while everyone makes a joke about the M standing for Miyazaki, it's very clear the idea is supposed to be he's the manly man, he's the big man, right? So the M is supposed to be, you know, just kind of a joke. I'm sure the devs behind the scenes were also in on the Miyazaki idea, though. I 100% bet you that people were making jokes about that in the dev lunch breaks. Yeah, the God Hand is one of the weapons that were created in inspiration of Big M, right? Trying to recreate his fists because essentially they came to worship his fists like a god. No matter how hard I try to like other Soul-like games, I always come back to Elden Ring. That's your prerogative. Personally, I think Dark Souls 1 will always be my personal fave of the games. I really like Demon Souls as well. Dark Souls 3, of course, has a special place for me. Bloodborne, right? Like, yeah. I would say Elden Ring is like probably... Ooh. Elden Ring's one of those games where I have to put it... Because DS2 is always dead last. It will always be dead last. But the question is, do I put Elden Ring above or below Bloodborne? And where would I put Dark Souls 3 among them too? Like those three games I'd have to juggle because they're somewhere there at the bottom / middle rung. So it's really hard to kind of figure out which ones I'd want to order. All right. Conspicuously avoiding DS2. I mean, DS2, like I said, it's going at the bottom. It's never like that. There's no question there. DS2 isn't even part of the conversation. All right, I think that's. I got the shots I could of Clothes Boy. I want a shot of you as well. The only disappointing thing is I cannot get the item off this bridge without breaking the bridge, so... Once again, chat, we cheat. Or we try to. Yeah. Aha! Oh, yeah! Oh, we could probably have this stuff up here in there, though. Don't mind me. Yeah, the Demon Souls and some of the other, and Bloodborne and stuff not having PC versions is definitely a bit shame because it makes it so much harder for people to actually like enjoy them, to make their own comparisons and determinations, right? Uh-oh. There we go. All right, let's do the last Half Moon Grass. Oh, we don't want the dead bodies in the way. There we go. There we go. Now let's see. These guys don't respawn, I'm pretty sure, so it's very important I get the shots right with them. That's not what I wanted. Ow. Ow. How much damage is that doing? That's 2 hits, right? Ah, you know, it's not the worst in the world. I can walk it off. I guess we'll do it there. Also, sounds like the BGM's finished, so let's get a new one. What's another track I'd wanted? Let's look for something a little bit lyricless, you know? What's a good one? Oh, well, this one's always nice. Not lyricless per se, but I do enjoy it. There we go. All right. There we go. There we go. Wait, did I not? I guess I didn't register. I have to be careful with pressing the button now. All right, let's see. I don't know. Am I? Oh, I guess I'm not tabbed in technically. Okay. Well, I tried. Go. That little extra sliver is such an insult. There we go. Run, 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 run like the wind, cowboy. That fireball really caught me off guard. Do you think the first Demon Scourge took hold slower than the one we face? Like, there were less people, so there were less soul arts going around, or so maybe it'd take even longer to awaken the old... it depends on how many people there were at the beginning. We don't really know the specifics on how exactly God placed people on the earth and all that jazz, so... I mean, who knows how big the population was during those early days. But let's assume that there were less people, right? Would it take longer or go faster? I could see a case for the pagans. I'd see a case for the pagans with their Master of Soul Arts and stuff being able to resist the demons to an extent better than modern peoples, right? Who are more new to coming back to the Soul Arts, though again, that'd be purely speculation on my part. I think it's more so based on the actual rate of the fog. I think the fog, going by how slow it moves in the modern era, probably moved similarly slowly then, and I'm not sure if necessarily anything is really stopping that beyond obviously what we do as the There we are. Again, the old one awakening is based purely on the people, right? That's what happened. That's as the Monumental explains. It was ultimately, specifically, as I go over in the Monumental stuff with Maiden in the Black, it's specifically the people who awaken the old one. It's not like the old one is like, oh, it sniffs out soul arts and it awakens on its own, right? It's the fact that the people, so consumed and obsessed with the soul arts, end up essentially awakening the old one of their own volition in an obsession with power, right? Which ties into the ending theme of the game, where we ultimately betray everyone in the world for power, and become one of the old one's new demons. The point being made is that ultimately it was man's choice that caused their own destruction. I think it's similar to Dark Souls with Ulasil and stuff like that, right? Where, yes, there was the temptation of Koth clearly involved in putting Ulasil on the path that they ultimately followed, but in the end, they were the ones to awaken Manus, and they were the ones to drive him mad and end up causing their own destruction, right? Like, they have no one really to blame but themselves for their own evil in that case, right? And the just desserts that is happening now as a result of it. There we go. I love this BGM, so we're gonna loop this one. Ba ba ba. There we go. More Crescent Moongrass. Pickaxe. Let's drop it. We don't. Again, I'm gonna drop weapons that we already have and we don't need, because I already have enough shit. You know? I'm trying to cheat. I'm cheating. It's not perfect, but it'll work. It's funny how us turning this on with that crank and stuff opens this gate and everything, you know, like, it's all the little details in how all of this works that I really appreciate. Let me vault! Let me vault! From Software, they come up with the greatest mechanic ever with vaulting, and they underuse it so much Yeah, I imagine if there was a sequel, we'd probably see like something similar to Dark Souls 2, where they'd be a soft reboot. It would work a lot better in the context of Demon Souls, because you could just have something be in the far future that things evolved, they've changed. You'd probably only thing you'd want to do if it's a sequel is you'd have to come up with some reason why we don't necessarily get to meet the monumental responsible for preserving the Nexus and stuff like this, and which is something you could do because you have to come up with a new Maiden in Black character. So you have to like there's a lot of like story beats that would need to be filled or set up in order to have a Demon Souls sequel, and there's a lot of room for you to be able to do it, so that way you don't have oh, and now we have to canonize whoever your main character was or whatever, right? Like there's definitely ways to get around that. There we go. Moving up here. In general, I would love to see a Demon Souls sequel just get announced and stuff, because it shows that Miyazaki, just to show that Miyazaki, still, like, he doesn't just think of the series as like, oh, that title I did in my younger years, I'm so embarrassed of it because, you know, I've come so far since then. You know, it's like, no, you had something really special here, and you should sort of embrace the narrative potential of the world you created and what you can do with it, whatever your reservations about the product of the game you made, right? Do I go here? No. Yep, there we go. That solved it. All right, retaking our shot. Does this make a huge difference? No. But it's nice to have it be a little bit more, a little bit fuller backgrounds. All right. Would I want a sequel to take place in the Far East? I mean, that could work. It could work. They could do something like that and then make it where it's like the reverse, where you have a lot of the Japanese or other Eastern influences come first and foremost, and then the Western stuff is almost secondary. That'd be an interesting twist. I don't know if they'd want to do that because they may feel it strays too much from Demon Souls' core identity, right? Where, you know, at its core, Demon Souls, they might try to argue, is a Western European fantasy type of franchise, and they don't want to kind of like completely throw things into another side of the world, right? I could see them making that argument in their heads. Oh boy. Well, it didn't kill him. There we go. All right, where do we go from here? Should I just open it? I already got the shot looking down here. Now, this guy's punches I could see potentially killing me, so we want to be careful there. Oh, you know what? I think these are the same punch animations that Baldwin and Ed do, now that I think about it. At the very least, it feels like they are. I think this is a pretty good one. I think this is a pretty good one. There we go. 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 All right, I think I got enough angles of that. Worry about you later, my friend. Right. Uh-huh. There we go. More Sharpstone. Oh, the chat knocks. Let's see. Where's our friend? Oh, did he go up here? Oh. Can't even get his fat ass up the stairs. Thank you for the grass. I appreciate it. I love chewing my grass. I love me my weed. Now let's see, where are we going? Oh, nope, damn. Dum-dum, you're supposed to go a little bit higher. Why you like this? Alright. We go up. We go through here. Oh, I did it again. God, I'm so bad at this. You go across the bridge and then you drop down, moron. And again, because I don't use magic for anything else, I have an on-demand a Shard of Archstone effectively. Which I guess makes sense to me now why they don't really hand you many of those during the gameplay. Because you can always just get this as a miracle for pretty cheap. I'm assuming that most classes can probably do this without needing to level Faith at all, so you just pay the soul cost. Oh. Alright, stop telling me what to do. There we go. Let's get a close look at those magma worms. All right, let's go see our good old friends, the geckos. Okay. I thought to be like, why is that frozen? There we go. Alright, so what is my big impediment? That goddamn corpse. So now we will go through and do everything in our power to get rid of that goddamn corpse. Oh yeah, I gotta be careful with these guys. Alright, our little fire lizards, the little salamanders, ain't doing too hot. Whew. Is that the only attack they have? I think it might be. Yeah, I think it is. I think it just have it in the tackle where they roll. Good to know. A shard of meltstone, thank you. Always appreciated. Always appreciate an undo. I already got shots of up there. Oh. Well. I'm sure they're doing okay. You know, I don't know if wood can really survive molten hot lava. You know? Call me crazy, but I don't think a wooden platform is gonna be able to withstand cooling molten metal when the water's not flowing. I somehow get the feeling that this shouldn't work. You know? Call it a hunch. I'm no physicist, but I somehow doubt that this is proper. I'm sure the remake fixed this. I can't imagine the devs saw this and didn't think, nope, this is fine. This is absolutely fine. There you go. There we are. Okay, the body's just under there, okay. There we go. All right, there we go. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna have to go through this area first once we unlock the shortcut. Considering I'm using a slashing and not piercing against these guys, it's working marvelously well. Like they're not as resilient as I worried they would be on New Game Plus. That's what I thought. All right, there we go. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. All right. There we go. No, I just gotta do this on coming back here. That's fine. Unknown hero. Crescent moon. There we go. We all know how this is gonna go.
Well done.
Another renowned hero soul. Go. Should probably have this on just to make sure I'm not going to accidentally kill myself from fall damage. Nah, we're fine. We're fine. We're fine. Wait, Stumping Tunnel, we're very close to having pure white tendency. Which I forget what that does besides unlocking the Crystal Lizard Tunnel, so I guess we'll find out. Oh. The more souls, the better. Our next goal is, I guess, 50 HP. Yeah. Let's go back.
Hello, I'm keep. You have.
All right. I'm thinking. I'm thinking what we do is.
Hello, I'm keep.
I want to see how we can handle Fireboy.
You have a heart of gold.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, let's see. I think Phalanx is actually still the better one to start with for this. I could just skip the first few guys, right? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I did unlock the shortcut, so we get to take the long way around for this one, which is fine by me. Oh. wanted to see if I can notice any difference with the fire stuff from regular mooks, but no luck. All right. Ow. All right. There we go. There we are. Go through here. All right. All right, we know how this one goes. What are we gonna do here now? All right, let's see. Nothing crazy. All right, and now for the big boy. I hope this doesn't one-shot me still. That's going to be really embarrassing if it does. We know how this works. Oh boy. How will I survive on New Game Plus with you? It actually worked. Actually legit. Not the worst idea I've ever had. So the question is, can I block it consistently? Ow. Yeah, that fat roll is gonna hurt. Dragon? Dragon? Does the dragon just stop caring? I could have sworn it still does this even after you kill Phalanx. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the dragon. Should have showed up by now. Huh. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. The dragon should have showed up already. Unless the idea is like now it won't because maybe it attacked me. Does that like lock its AI to never leave its spot? Yeah, not sure. All right. Hello? There we go. Oh, okay, so that's how that works. Good to know. All right. The more you know. Still, getting that last one would be a lot easier if you weren't around, buddy. All right. Let's see if this does it. Maybe it's just something I need to reset. Nope. Dragon ain't leaving its spot. Okay. Well, unfortunate. I was hoping we could get the items out of the way, so if I want any shots of this stuff with the background there, I wouldn't have to worry about those items. Oh, well. You know what? There's still one I can still loot there for the fire thing, so we can at least try to get rid of that one, so we only have to worry about the one. I don't need an item for this, so... There we go. Extra flame resistance just in case. Another flame shield, lol. Woo! Use you. Yeah, I just need to go for it. One-shots you. Damn. Good to know. I'm running out of these, so gotta make this one count. All right, let's see if going through. Also, why did it spawn me here if I use the... Does it just spawn you at the most applicable archstone based on your area? Like, if you spawn in from 2, it will always take you back to 1 if you go back to 1 from 2. I guess that makes sense. Alright. We go this way. Let's get our souls back and then we can evacuate, so... do this just in case. Ow! And rush over here. There we go. Don't care about the item, whatever it is. There we go. Really? All right, there's no way quicker, I think. I think this is it. Thankfully, this part is the easiest. There we go. All right, more full moon, please. No, late moon, I'll take it. And we picked up the shield. Isn't that a rare drop? I don't see my blood stain here, surprisingly. Oh well, I can now get the shot I was going for last time. There we go. There we go. Wait. Oh, it doesn't. I always hate when it technically considers me tapped out. There we go. There we go. All right. Oh, I see the blood stain now. That's barely visible. It's fine. We always come up. You can always come back. This one's gonna be rough. All right, we at least see where the blood stain is, so. Woo! We got it. Evacuate! And there we go. Mission accomplished. There we go.
Thank the
There we are. Perfect. Should drop that other one, but it's fine. It's fine. Okay, perfect.
We are in debt.
I'm sure you are. Okay. With that, I think we wrap things up. Let's do... Now, I want to do a plan thing through Latria if I do Latria, so I have to think that one over. Oh, I should put the Ed's grindstones back.
Thank the
Honestly, with how little I use these, I may as well just stop with the repairing and just use some of these when I need them.
Wait.
Where are you going? May as well, you know? Wait till my stuff's about to break.
Thou then soul of the mind.
Alright, basically need close to 50k. Am I anywhere close to that? I might be? No, not even close. This stuff is not gonna cut it. Ooh, Shrine of Storms actually... Shrine of Storms might be a good idea. Obviously, we can go back to Stonefang, but I want to try Shrine of Storms first. I want to see how bad it is. What's my status here? Honestly, not the worst. I have a little lower because of, I think, killing Satsuki. Good old Satsuki. Oh, I'm sorry, Satsuki. Satsuki. Alright, let's see. Not bad. 1,000, holy hell. Oh boy. It's funny how I don't mind putting this... The area that's supposed to be cloudy with storms, I don't mind putting it down a little. Because it looks pretty normal lighting, all things considered. Like, it doesn't look that awful. Some shard of Bladestone. Ooh. There we go. There we go. Renowned Hero Soul. Soldier's Lotus. Talisman of God. To be honest, we already have like what, like 3 of these things? I don't need another. I have this one equipped. You did not see anything. Whoop. I was like, that's gonna aggro you for sure. You did not see anything. Absolutely nothing was seen. No. Oh. Just to get the comparison. Again, it's a shame that it doesn't come, the bright water aspect doesn't become obvious. If not for stuff like the reflections on our buddy Blige here. Yeah, still not visible from the angles I'm getting, so that's cool. Let's see what these guys upstairs first. God, fall damage in this is a joke to later games. Like, later games have it so much rougher. The key! There we go. There we go. All right. There's bodies and stuff here now. All right, here we go. Sorry, Saxtonale, no spamming today. Gonna have to put you in timeout. Can't have that. There we go. There we are. Yeah. There we go. There we go. All right. It would be cool if they had a voice line like, "Hey, I'm down here. Can you let me out?" Kind of like what they do with Griggs. Yeah, before this guy comes after my ass. Oh god, no, that's gonna... That's rough. Crescent Falchion. Soul Remains. Hey, I am good to see you. We're close to getting our level up, so we can go back probably soon-ish. Gonna keep our buddy in there for a bit. Yeah, the goal isn't to kill the bosses for these first sections right away. I can't believe you're shooting me with that through this. Like, that's just rude. At least they don't get iframes when they're dodging, so I can still do damage to them. Hey, Minnie, welcome to the chat. Are you in any recent Souls videos, or do you just focus on your Twitch? I wish you make some Souls content about the games you play. You're amazing in that. So I did a poll actually on the Twitter, not using the new name, a while back, and overwhelmingly people just want me to focus on the website content for the games. They did not want me developing my YouTube content. That is to say I'm not interested in developing the YouTube content, just that it's something that cannot be a high priority because clearly I have so much more. Like, people would rather see me finish up, say, Bloodborne or Elden Ring or whatever I'm working on, right, than focus on the website. So, right. Now, Elden Ring's a special case where there's so much content in Elden Ring, I actually don't mind taking long breaks between Elden Ring if I'm not feeling particularly inspired, right? So if I ever feel, like, burnt out, I have no problem, like, dropping Elden Ring for a while. Like, it's not like this passion project of mine like Dark Souls, and to a lesser extent Demon Souls and Bloodborne have been.
Scurvy, give sparkly me.
So I don't mind.
Give twinkly me.
But anyway, I would like to do more with my YouTube content besides the streams, that's for sure. Look, how would you rank Miyazaki's games? Oh, we were talking about that earlier, about how what would I order it. Dark Souls 1 would probably be at the top. Dark Souls 2 is obviously at the bottom. And then the question would be, how would I order Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, and Elden Ring? I don't consider Sekiro a quote-unquote Souls game again, and I haven't really completed it anyway, so I'm not like qualified to include it in that lineup, if that's what some of you guys would be wondering. And Durasane, again, who has played Durasane? It's one of those titles where, once again, I just don't consider it a quote-unquote Souls game, as it were, so I wouldn't count that. Obviously, Armored Core is disqualified because it's Armored Core. It's in a league of its own. But in terms of, like, the games I would order, I would say it's Dark Souls 3 at the top, Dark Souls 2 at the bottom, and somewhere in between, I would have to choose between Dark Souls 3, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and Demon Souls. How I would decide that, I'm not sure. I feel Demon Souls would definitely... I feel like it might be something like Dark Souls 1, Bloodborne, 3, Demon Souls, Elden Ring, and then DS2, which sounds kind of deceptive, because DS2 is, like, at the way, like, it's like putting DS2 compared to the others, right? Like, I don't know. DS2 is weird. It would be like its own tier for me. Hey, Mercy. Good to see you in the chat. Anyway, so on the topic of Souls videos... Yeah, okay, I got this. Good. Okay. As far as Souls videos are concerned, I would love... I said it before, I want to do, maybe coming this over the next 6 weeks, I want to do a practice one for re-record. Hello? I'm kind of busy here. But you know what? Okay, no, we gotta do this. We gotta do max brightness for this one. This one is really weird, but we gotta do max brightness for it. This actually looks a little awkward doing that. DS2 is the Kingsfield, like. Oh, that's a funny way to put it. Okay, that's just shadow. Okay. Does that have to be like, did it not load in? Alright. That's really weird. We'll just put the HUD on. We don't want to cares about the brightness right now. Why not? I guess I have to get that item first, so we'll just do a shot of this. Think I do it like a podcast? Maybe. Like I said, I have to think about it. If there's any way I can make like some low effort stuff that I can pump out. I thought again, we'll see it with this this recording I'm doing, where I want to basically do a like I was trying to talk about before, a re-recording of Hawkshaw's my commentary on Hawk. Let's call it a reaction. We'll call it Loki Looks, but it'll be like a practice run where I'll do a live stream reacting to Hawkshaw's timeline video. I do have a recording of this already, but I've never edited it together because again, time and effort. So, and plus I have better audio equipment and stuff now, so, and I could probably even improve the scripting a little bit. But the point is that I want to do basically a live run, of this, just to, you know, kind of like give you guys something that you can actually see my reaction to that on the, on Hawkshaw's, big video, and maybe, I can like cut up clips of that and do like little shorts, and we'll see how those do out in the wild. See if those get like the shares or whatever, or something like that to help get the information. Because, you know, for me, it's all about just making sure the information's out there, right? You know, make sure more people, more eyeballs see it, really. Yeah, let's do this. Oh. Whew. Whew. I'm actually curious, what makes this disappear, you know? God, my camera. Don't worry, guys, I'll figure this out. There we go, okay. I think it's as soon as, yeah, as soon as I step into the water is what makes that appear. Good to know. Anyway, all right, any other shots I want to grab? Actually, no, you don't even need to be in the water. It's actually as soon as you cross onto this step here. Which other content creators do you recommend following for Souls lore? I mean, I don't watch a lot of content creators regularly. Like, sometimes I'll watch a Smotown or a Vativid, or I'll watch a small content creator if I think they might have something interesting to say or what have you. But, like, I don't know. It's really hard because a lot of content creators do just rely on the English scripts and stuff like that, which always causes a lot of just like inherent flaws in the analysis, right? So there ends up always being like potentially wild variations in how like they would analyze something versus how I would you know, analyze the same topic as a result. So I don't know if I could wholeheartedly recommend them and stuff, but like, I mean, I know I've worked with people. I've worked with Hawkshaw in the past for sure. I've worked with Smotown. I've worked with Vati. I mean, I've worked with people on some of their videos and stuff like that. And regardless of how I feel about the conclusions, I can say with certainty that these are people who try to do their research and come to the conclusion best they can. So I can give my full-throated recommendation to them on that front, right? But yeah, like, I'd be happy if I could just say like, hey, if you guys want to watch a variety of content creators, you can here's like a list of like people that like I work with closely or whatever and I trust. But you know, I'll be honest, I don't watch that many. That's the thing. Like I said, if it's not like a reaction thing we do while we're streaming for something particular, I just don't. Granted, there are some that do, I know, work on script stuff, though not all of them work in the English community. I think one of the few that work in the English community that does that is, oh god, not Hunter of Hunters. Oh god, the name is escaping me. I know it. know this guy. I'm so sorry to him. I'm forgetting his name at the top of my head. Ah. Oh, I hate myself. It'll come to me, chat. It'll come to me. God, my goldfish memory strikes again. Do I care about freeing Blige right now? Not really. We can leave him here. There we go. Yeah, that is, again, yeah, that is always like a problem, right? Is like, you want your content creators to be as thorough as possible, but a lot of them, they fall into the trap of sort of defaulting to trusting that the English, unquestionably. Which again, I'm not saying that people shouldn't assume that their localizations didn't do their job they should be, but that you have to always have the skeptical eye to be like, well, has it really did so, and be willing to double check and be with these things before you just go with what a text says, even if it sounds like it may be a safe or something text. You just never know. So a lot of text that can sound deceptive to people where they're like, oh, I think it's something, and then you're like, ah, well, you know, this is actually more nuanced, yada yada, right? There's a little bit more room to interpret here if you want, and blah blah blah, right? Like, like I say, it's not like I'm the only one to do it, but I can tell you that I do not see a lot of people. Oh, what? Come on, it's not Garden of Ice. I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Again, apologies in advance to the guy. I know he does it, and he does his best with his work and all like that, but I just cannot remember the name off the top of my head. We have not chatted in a very long time. My brain is feeling like mush right now. I'm gonna hate this. It's gonna bug me all day. There we go. There we go. There we are. That will do. Yeah, Maiku has been mentioned to me quite a few times. I think recently was just like, was it earlier this week or last week, something like that? And yeah, like I've talked to, I don't know if it's, I don't think it's the same person, but I've talked to, I think it was Lamia on, I think that's the username I've gone to. I don't know if that's like Maiku's alt or something like that, but also talked to Lamia in the Italian community. Very small conversations there. It's just my, yeah, on the English side, it's a bit kind of rougher because one, I don't think it's as widespread about the localization flaws for people. I think Vati and Smo and stuff have tried to help along with that to some extent, but I think for some people it isn't always that obvious in the general public, especially if it's like, oh, they watched lore vids from like Vati or something from like 10 years ago or whatever, right? So like, you know, some of that's, you have to understand, like some of that stuff gets really entrenched in people's memories. So like lore, which is even their own content creators would not stand by. They're like, oh no, that's not really outdated. I did not do as much work here. Like here's a bunch of flaws with what I did. Oh, I didn't realize this at the time, or blah blah blah, right? But that's just what happens with content creation, right? It's like these things are like a snapshot into people's memories, but they can leave a lasting impression on people. And again, that's not like, you know, to criticize or be like finger wag them or anything. It's just like that is what it is. That is the nature of the beast. And it becomes one of those things where like you're dealing with a community which has maybe long entrenched beliefs or things that have been in the collective consciousness that you know, it's hard to change that quickly, as it were, right? It's a slow going process of kind of moving people to be like, oh yeah, you know what, maybe we shouldn't just assume the English is always reliable, you know. Yeah, Mirko, that name sounds familiar to me. Yeah. Anyway, the point is that I've dealt with a lot of people. I've dealt with people in the Chinese community, the Italian community. I've dealt with, I think one time it was Brazilian and maybe French, but yeah, it's just a bunch of different people have like messaged me and stuff over the years, and I've talked, and they seem to be doing good work, or at least trying to. So That's all you can really ask for, you know, in life. All right. I'm gonna do something I'm gonna regret. Oh my god, I hate I have to do this. One long ladder ride later. Ow! That's exactly why. I want to check something real quick. There we go. Oh god, I don't know if this is far enough. Well, we're just gonna have to hope for the best. I know this is reused from another From Software's game, so goddamn, I love this design for Vanguard. Our good old diffused Vanguard. It looks just so good, in my opinion. There we go. There we go. Perfect. There we are. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Chat, ultimately, this is a vanity project on my part. I just want to get good screenshots to show off to people who've never played Demon Souls and are never going to emulate it like I am right now. Let them be able to see the glory and majesty of this game, you know? God damn. Woo! I'm gonna be a happy Loki by the end of this, I feel. Do it. Do it. Woo! Ah! Do it. Do it. Oh. Yeah, let's do it from up here. Fly like a butterfly. There we go. Where can I find a reliable timeline for Bloodborne? Here, I got you, fam. Where do we go? Bleed BB. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. My wonderful little timeline for BB. So we divide this into roughly 3 eras, though they're arbitrary on my part, so don't look too deeply at them. We got Willem excavating the Yharnam graves. Again, this is specifically for the Healing Church, so this covers like the most important bit. Oh, sorry there. Not that. Let me, there we go. There we go. Okay, the most important bits for the Healing Church. Willem excavates Yharnam graves. Underground ruins are discovered. Bergenworth gets established. Blood experiments happen. Gurman gets brought in to hunt at Bergenworth. Then there's the first ban on blood after that hunt. Then the fishing hamlet. Go on a field trip over to the fishing hamlet. From Bergenworth. So Rom ends up becoming a great one from that field trip, and so the students then begin experimenting on Rom. Naturally, this leads to a second ban on the blood. Then you got this exodus from Bergenworth. Right at the end here, this is Lawrence and Company, right? So the Lawrence and Company moved to Old Yharnam to set up shop. You create the quote-unquote blood treatment or blood ministry, right? Blood ministration, right? From there, they start having their relations with the Canehurst develop. They look into those little libraries and start digging through old tomes to understand lost history and blah, 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 blah. The old hunter beast epidemic end up happening as a result of all their work and collaboration and stuff there. So some of the old hunters are becoming beasts. Then you got Ludwig going into Iz for a little bit of tomb prospecting, where he comes out with the holy Moonlight Sword. Then he ends up forming the Holy Blades and goes on his little crusade in the name of gods and blah, blah, blah. Then that's when Lawrence and Company decide they're going to turn their little doctor operation, or their hospital, I guess we can call it, into a church, right? Then we start seeing, as they begin to rapidly expand and take over Yharnam's general leadership, that the Cathedral Ward and Central Yharnam get built up, right? So again, these two come in conjunction here. Then you get Hemwick, relations with Hemwick beginning around this time, as they start, needing to get rid of more bodies and starting to need to experiment. Plus, the ash ends up being something useful for their experiments and stuff like that. About this time, we also have the Auto Workshop getting established. So this is the one that will eventually become the Powder Kegs. Then about this point, Lawrence's spies give him word about Koss getting pregnant. So now they have a infant great one which they can study, and so this is where they pick up poor old Gurman and Company, who kind of fall by the wayside after Ludwig and the Holy Blades, and they take Gurman and Company and go over to massacre the hamlet. We know how that went. Gurman ends up killing Koss and ripping the baby out of her womb, and then leaves her there to dead on the seashore while giving Lawrence his baby to study. And then that's when the Hunter's Nightmare ends up created from Koss's grudge. The Research Hall experiments are beginning by this point, because they start basically dissecting the orphaned Koss's orphan for parts, and then you start using that to investigate how they can contact the stars. The Auto Workshop ends up becoming the Powder Kegs around this time, like it starts developing. We also have the orphanage established, because with all those Research Hall experiments, you now have a lot of orphans, and what better way to take advantage of the opportunity than to get some goodwill by saying, hey, we're taking all the orphans and we're going to take care of them, and then you indoctrinate them to be your research assistants. Of course, unfortunately, you have a bunch of problems where, like, people are starting to, so some of the church are finally starting to, at the early stages of succumbing to the beast disease. They're developing it, at least, right? And you're imprisoning them, and you're hiding this imprisonment and all that stuff, but that's not going to last forever. So Lawrence and Gurman basically team up to create the Hunter's Dream, with the last bit of Koss's orphan to summon Flora. As a result of that, Lawrence ends up leaving Gurman as collateral while he tries to go find a Great One baby. He decides he's going to search the dungeons and essentially chase after Murgo with our pregnant Queen Yharnam. Lawrence's skull is made the holy medium after he turns into the bloodletting beast and gets beheaded, and that whoever beheaded him brings it back to the church or whatever and becomes this holy relic, right? And then we finally get to this last area where, of course, after Lawrence, we have the epidemic of cleric beasts that begin to arise. Again, finally, the thing that Lawrence was afraid of comes to pass. The Hunter's Nightmare gets discovered by this point, and that's where we also have, quote unquote, as I call it, Operation Secret Keeper, which is essentially them sending our assassin friend, what's his face, into the nightmare to essentially kill anyone who goes to uncover the secret, because if anyone who happens to stumble upon it leaks out what exactly the church had done and what that means for all hunters and things like that, the entire system would end up collapsing. So then in the meantime, we have the orphans who are also sent on an Is-Tune prospection. So these are the future choir people, right? They end up forming the choir and essentially betray their old cadre masters and become the secret brains of the church now. Mikolash ends up forming the School of Mensis because he notices all these suspicious activity from it and basically puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that the church has essentially been subverted. So he ends up forming his own idea to pursue the true brains that, as Lawrence, good old founding Vicar Lawrence had envisioned for them. Old Yharnam incident, of course, happens at this point. You start seeing the beast epidemic explode from all the experiments with the ash and stuff like that. Logarius forms the executioners around this point, as the Holy Blades have basically gone into far decline and more or less fell apart after Ludwig left. Then we get the Logarius, essentially one of the last Holy Blades that basically tries to reconstitute this new kind of holy order as the executioners. We know how that ends up going. Around this point, one of the executioners ends up killing Queen Yharnam, our favorite queen killer, and this is how we end up having the School of Mensis encountering Murgo. That, of course, at around the same time, we also have the choir encountering Ebrietis and able to lure Ebrietis out of the dungeons along with Rom in order to, with the help of the chalice, which they had gotten way back up there during the prospection days. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So at the height of the old Yharnam incident, the Nightmare of Mensis is created. That same night, because of the red moon, and the old Yharnam ends up being burned. Logarius blames this all on the work of the Vile Bloods, and so accelerates his plans to just have them go directly after the Vile Bloods at this point, and Cainhurst ends up getting massacred. Then we have, about this time afterwards, the choir moves in with Rom to have the Moonside Lake created in the crater where the old Bergenworth School used to be, because it got dragged into the Nightmare of Mensis. And then we have the Bergenworth Woods end up being made forbidden. Old Yharnam is sealed after this point, after the whole burning everything incident. And then, oh yeah, then the choir ends up moving some of their experiments and stuff now over to the Forbidden Village, right? So the place, they forbid any access to the woods, but they're secretly having the villagers and stuff there. The shady sort end up kind of doing the experiments. You know, they kind of just outsource it, right? Yahar Ghul ends up doing the Reborn experiment we see, where after everything else they've done in the Nightmare of Mensis, they end up basically trying to create their own necromantic Great One, essentially, to help them with the whole becoming gods and stuff like that, after the big failure with the creation of the Nightmare of Mensis, with the giving Murgo to, what's-her-face, the wet nurse. Then Central Yharnam ends up getting abandoned by the church, essentially. They're like, well, this is a lost cause, and they essentially shut their gates and abandon the place. And then the citizens of Yharnam rebel as a mob, and that's basically a pretty holistic timeline of all the major events going on here. Obviously, there's still the stuff with Loran and stuff like that, and Tumeru and things, but again, I cover that obviously in my articles and things like that. But this right here, you can screenshot this. This will give you a good little what's the word? A good little kind of like reference point on the timeline of events and things like this. Whew. Is this a new Loki Bloodborne book in project? Not necessarily, Lovecraft. Not necessarily, but hey, if I finish my work on Bloodborne, I would totally be open to making a book if you guys are willing to support me on that. Okay, so, how do you manage to figure out all these things on your own and reconstruct the lore of these games? To me, they seem like so full of narrative gas and open interpretation. You're a genius. Again, I don't think it's a matter of genius. It's about logical deductions, right? Again, a lot of people consider Sherlock Holmes a genius, but what does Sherlock Holmes really do? Sherlock Holmes' genius is the fact that he is able to observe a tremendous amount of information and then be able to use that information to quickly calculate and deduce the most likely probability of outcomes, and essentially using every piece of new data point he gets to help eliminate more and more of the variables and possibilities until he arrives at what ends up being, of course, the right answer, but is because it is the most probabilistically the accurate answer. And the reality is anyone can do this. For those that don't know, Arthur Conan Doyle based Sherlock Holmes on actual people that Doyle used in his life, and even applied some of the stuff from his writings of Sherlock Holmes to actually helping solve real mysteries and things like that. So it's not a matter of, genius or whatever. It's a matter of time and willpower in order to go through and you know, put these things together. And again, I don't think these games are as daunting as many people may think, really. The problem is just that when you get thrown into these games without context, everything is new and it's all happening to you out of order and things like that. So it's very difficult for you to be able to get a complete and consistent full timeline. But you can say this to any game. Like, ask yourself, ask any like big RPG you had, and like, when did you ever have it where everything, every single bit of the lore, the story, the timeline, or whatever, you had perfectly in your head and you didn't realize, oh, I got that wrong, or oh, I thought about this thing, or oh, I never realized that, or I never made that connection, when you're watching some like lore vid or whatever, for whether it's, I don't know, like your Fire Emblems, your Mass Effects, your like Dragon Ages, what's another one, your Baldur's Gates, like anything like this, right? The reality is that a lot of times, most of the time, these narratives always have information overload, and it takes a lot of time and thought to go into for you to be able to put it all in order on for a first playthrough or something like that, right? And most people, in fact, I think everyone can say that it's just not reasonable. There we go. It's just not reasonable for people to do that, right? Which is why you end up having lore people like myself kind of go through the data points and sort of make all the connections for you in advance. So that way, and then we correlate data, so if there's anything we're missing, someone else can pick that up, and that's the beauty of community efforts, because, you know, what one person, I'm just one person, so no matter how much I may get stuff right, there's always going to be stuff I'm going to get wrong, even if it's little things, right? So even if it's like, you know, look, you missed that, you forgot that, or whatever, like someone can point that out, and then I can correct or update my stuff, so that way it's right then. So that's the thing, is that I don't want to talk myself up as a big genius, because I'm not. I'm really not. I mean, I hope these streams show one thing, is that I'm as much an idiot as the rest of you. I just have the benefit of being able to understand the language, so I have a good grasp of what Miyazaki tries to tell us with his narratives, and then with all of that, oh, I can't believe that didn't hit me. With all of that in mind, I then, you know, take the time to make the logical deductions about everything that's going on there. And yes, there are gaps, right? But at some point, you have to kind of accept that while there is something where it's like, you are never going to be told this directly, you're never going to be say this explicitly, at some point, you need to be accepting that just because you're not told something doesn't mean it isn't true, right? Right? Like, there's at some point, like, you see with your own eyes, right? So, for example, when I was doing my analysis for Elden Ring, I had, this applies to actually two things, actually, but let's focus on just one. For the Ancient Dragon War, I had a very specific spot on the timeline that I had determined the Ancient Dragon War had taken place. Based on all circumstantial and hard evidence that we had, but it was but on the timeline part specifically, it would have to be circumstantial. But essentially, I had, let me see if I can show this. Here we go. There we go. Bring this up. Here you are. So this has always been where I basically put Ancient Dragon War, between Liurnian Wars and the, as I call it, the Fringe Folk Rebellion, but here I'll list as the Penal Colonies Rebellion. So basically Stormvale. So between the events where Godfrey goes to war with Castle Stormvale, and the Radagon goes to war with Liurnia, or specifically Renala and company, there was the war with the Ancient Dragons. And now the problem was, everything that I had was telling me, oh, the Ancient Dragon War seems to happen around here. Now, the problem was, I could not for the life of me explain why exactly the dragons, because again, this started with Grand Sax's attack on Leyndell, right? I could not tell you why exactly Grand Sax did that. I was like, I don't know. It's like, everything's telling me this is when it's happening, but it's not obvious to me what the reason is. Now, circa come the release of the DLC, we got our explanation of why the events took place here, right? And that is because, as we learn, there's the events with Mezmer and going on crusade. And Mezmer's crusade and the whole stuff we learn about with Baal gives us the explanation. It's like, oh, I see it now. After the events with Mezmer and the Realm of Shadow, Baal and Farum Azula's giant hard-on they have with trying to kill Baal all this time, because even their war with Baal predates any of this stuff with the Erdtree even. So this has been a long-going conflict for Farum Azula. Suddenly, Baal ends up disappearing, and after some time, they're able to kind of figure out who's responsible responsible. Oh, it's this Erdtree Kingdom people who are responsible for essentially the entire center of the continent going missing all of a sudden. And as a result, there ends up becoming very obvious, oh, I can see exactly the politics and stuff that would lead to someone like Grand Sax or what have you, especially when you kind of get into the nitty gritty of what Grand Sax's character seems to be all about. And then you can kind of see, oh, I get it. I get why it happened right here, right? And you can see it. The problem was that I had all the evidence for when it happened, but I didn't understand why it happened at that point until we got the missing context that was ultimately revealed in DLC. You'd say the same thing about the Omen Curse. It was very obvious the Omen Curse took place at the end of the Age of Plenty and stuff like that. After certain events like the God Hunts and things, it would seem very obvious to me, but I could not for the life of me understand. I think originally my timeline, because I couldn't tell how long it happened, I even put it like, I think like right after, like up here, like right afterwards, because I wasn't exactly sure when exactly in this period, but it was very clear it was during the decline post Malekith sealing Destined Death. For the same reasons here, it was one of those things where once the DLC came out and we figured out the whole story about the Crusade and the Horn Scent and the Purge are there, I'm like, ah, that's the reason why the curse happens, right? Because I was like, okay, I know when it happens, but I can't tell you why. And that was the thing. Now, it's not, I don't always do this. Like, for example, my Erdtree's Beginning stuff, for some may recall, I had a different theory on some of the Erdtree's Beginning stuff. And while a lot of that original thesis does hold up in terms of the side stuff, like the Farum colonists and the, the Sun Capital stuff and things of that nature, the actual core thesis around the actual origin and stuff of the Erdtree ended up being wrong. And, of course, America's origins and stuff, which I ended up trying to peg to the Nameless Eternal City, that ended up also proving wrong based on the DLC and stuff like that. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Again, I'm not going for perfect accuracy or whatever. If there's data or missing that could throw off my analysis, that can happen. You know what? Like I said, sometimes I'm someone who I get the analysis just right, and I just need some more context or information, which the devs have not yet supplied to us, and maybe they will in a future DLC, or if they're planning a sequel, who knows, maybe they have laced information for the future to explain, like, stuff like that. And sometimes, I don't realize that the information is missing. I end up putting myself on a wild goose chase on some stuff, right? But hey, the more that you get right, and the more that you're following a consistent and sound methodology that helps you able to construct things, circumstantial evidence becomes easier and easier for you to properly interpret. So these gaps aren't so much you guessing, right? Because you are limiting the possibilities by like, okay, I established this, I established that. It's like making a puzzle. If you build all the pieces of a puzzle around it, that piece that's supposed to go in the middle becomes easier to determine, because the more puzzle pieces around it you do, the more the shape comes into picture. Do you think DA and AA are as accurate as possible? Yeah. They pretty much reflect my up-to-date thoughts on everything regarding Demon Souls. And I'm not going to share any thoughts to you guys that I don't think is, like, again, whenever it comes to the content that I put on the website or the stuff I put in the books, whatever you guys are reading, that is the thing. Like, obviously there's always going to be a lag time between me or whatever, but generally whatever's on the websites or in the books or stuff, you can pretty confident is what I think is the right answers to things, right? Now, does that mean that I'm 100% exhaustive, that there isn't like some little detail here or there I could probably include or something if I really wanted to? Sure, I'm sure there is. But like, obviously, at some point, as I point out, like, I consider Abyssal Archive and Demonic Archive as sort of beginner studies for people. You read them, you get basically the whole basis for all the lore and stuff like that, and from there you guys can make your own determinations on like, okay, I want to add or include this, or I want to build and elaborate on this a little bit more detail, right? So that's those are my thoughts there. Anyway, I'm happy to hear that you had bought them both. I hope you enjoyed the read. Also, why Vati wrote in your preface doesn't trust everything you wrote, because that's Vati's opinion. Well, again, Vati and any content creator. Again, this is what I say to anyone really. But again, whether you like the content creator or hate them, you shouldn't just kind of just take their word as gospel, because they can do bad work. They can make mistakes, right? You may not necessarily buy everything they do, so right. Now maybe if you read more or you think about it more, you'll come over to whatever that content creator is saying or whatever, like, come over to their conclusion, right? Because for some people, they just don't trust something reflexively, and they have to take the time to think and parse it through, and then they'll come and be like, you know what, I was kind of reflexively against this or whatever, but when I think with a cooler head, and I try to actually put my think about it and look at it in the larger context or whatever, or do my own analysis with the conclusion with the information that they presented in mind, and double checking or fact checking or whatever, I have to admit that they probably have it right, like again, this is, I personally consider my work to be a contribution to the research of From Software titles and stuff like that. It's not the definitive, it's never going to be the definitive word on these games, because I don't think there can be, because I'm not Miyazaki. I'm not From Software, right? So
What was that?
that's how I feel about these things. Now, obviously, if you ask me, I always think I'm right. But like I said, that's if I didn't think I was right, why the hell would I be sharing my opinion with all of you? Like that would be stupid. And it's the same with other content creators. Obviously, they're putting it, at least at the time that they put it out, they're putting out what they think at the time is probably the most right, assuming that there's their goal. Some people, they like, oh no, this is just a fun idea and I want to just toy or throw it out, right? Like some people, you know, they don't care as much for accuracy so much as coming up with a good story, right? You know, that's, you know, it's essentially fuel for their not to put it crudely, but like fan fiction, essentially, right? Like, you know, it's not about the pursuit of, like, you know, the canon, so to say. And again, that's everyone's prerogative. All right, so chat, I know we went on a little bit of a side tangent there, but I think this is a good place for me to wrap things up, right? I got my level up here. I've done everything that I've wanted to with at least some of these early areas. Like, I think the only thing I'd want from 4.1 right now would probably be Adjudicator, like get some of the animations on Adjudicator and stuff. Tower Knight, Armored Spider. Latria, like I said, Latria I need a big plan for, because Latria is a very, especially considering that Latria is one I haven't died in yet. I'm still at pure white tendency. I'd want to keep that, or at least keep close to it, so that way when Fool's Idol is died, we keep pure white tendency. And I would like to get Boletaria out of black. I would like to do that. Anyway, that's for future Loki to worry about. There we go. Yeah. All right, so the only thing I can think of now is we just keep on leveling up our vitality, get our HP up to 50, and then I guess that would be our next thing. I would also want to start on a new sorcerer character, just for the purposes of being able to get the tutorial and stuff. So we'll probably have to think about that, or maybe not tutorial, maybe a throwaway character who's really tanky. Like, who'd be a really tanky class, starting class to go with for me to take screenshots so I can maximize my chances of not dying in the tutorial. I have to think that one through. That one's tough. Anyway, that's, again, like I said, for future Loki to worry about. Thanks so much, guys. Wonderful chatting with y'all. Help keeping me company while I get these screenshots. Again, I'm so happy to be getting screenshots for Demon Souls content. I'm already starting to update the website on the Boletaria article and a little bit of Shrine of Storms on some of these things to kind of test it out and get an idea of the new screens and how I'd have to organize this stuff or what have you. But like, I can assure you that we are going to make sure that the Demon Souls website content is has the best reference images for anyone, and they can, that way they can truly appreciate the work that the devs had put into that game. I am so happy that we have this awesome camera from the emulator. Like, props to whoever made the emulator and this camera. It's wonderful to have here in this game. I really appreciate it. The only thing I could want from it is probably an AI disable mod or a god mode option, so that way I could either have the enemies attack me and not worry about dying, or I can make it where the enemies don't attack me and I can just kind of walk around and get shots of them in their original area. So let's see now. Are we going to yeah, I think that's where we're gonna end things all here, right there. Final thing with Luca, and then we're gonna call it out. So I have to tell you, I know you disagree, but I still want to think that Seath reveals to Gwyn the weakness of Archdragons in order to kill them easily. That's why he was rewarded so greatly. Yeah, that just doesn't really hold up though, Luca. Again, the problem with the whole Seath shares a secret or whatever is that the gods already knew the secret beforehand. Like, that's kind of the point. Like, even before they started the hunts, they were already well on into developing the means with which to do so, and Seath and Havel and stuff were like fighting like during the war and or the hunts, I should say, the dragon hunts and things like that. So like, they're already like, Seath is still the enemy of the gods during the hunts. It's only toward the end of the hunts that he ends up betraying them, and it's that betrayal. Again, keep in mind, every dragon that they slay would end up costing them a ton of their own soldiers. So every dragon that Seath ends up slaying, think of that giant body pile. saves hundreds and hundreds of Gwyn's loyal, faithful knights. It's preserving Gwyn's military power. Of course, Gwyn is going to be incredibly gracious about that. Like this, I mean, especially considering Gwyn's biggest concern, even at that time, is the humans and what to do in the aftermath of once they get rid of the dragons and become the dominant force. Like you have to consider like everything that's going into that. And just in general, the only basis really to say that Seath is that Seath would share any secret is because some people have interpreted the localization's use of confidant to the strict meaning of someone who like shares secrets or something. I forget what the exact Google definition or whatever is. But the point is, this is where the origin of that idea comes from. If you take that away, as is true in the original JP text, that once that connotation is lost, there's absolutely zero reason to think that Seath would have shared any information with it, right? So like, yeah, I can again. Like I said, everyone's going to be free to have their own thoughts on this. It's just, there's just no real basis to that. People, it's one of those things where it's like, well, like I can't even try to kind of stretch it in a way to really say that because it just doesn't work timeline-wise, especially if you're trying to say the secret is the dragon's weakness, which is, well, oh god, they're weak to lightning and piercing things, and oh my god, they were already doing lightning and piercing things. Hell, as we see, Gwyn's son was using a earlier prototype of stuff, and they were already developing into the spear thing ahead of time. And we see the training in their Sen's Fortress and stuff with the lightning, basic ass lightning spear. So anyway, that's a side point. I can go on and on and on. That's neither here nor there. Talk to y'all later, chaps. Bye bye.